So I don't normally randomly take video of my bed chamber and post it to Facebook and Twitter. And I wish this was kind of a funny occasion that was like that, where I can make this whole thing into a big joke. But Sox, my buddy here, is going across the Rainbow Bridge today. And I've already cried a ton of tears. Stupid pillow. And there will be plenty more to come. And for non-animal lovers, they're not going to understand this video, because this video is to honor him and his life, what he's meant to me. And I realize that some people go overboard with animals, and they go from lovers, like animal lovers, to that animals are the same thing as people, and both the Bible and common sense make it clear that's not the case. And of course, ever since having a son, that becomes that much more apparent to me. But it doesn't change how deeply you love an animal, how much they become a part of your family, and all that's really centered around how incredibly individualized they are. And so I just wanted to tell a couple of stories to honor his life. And the reason I want to honor his life is not because I'm some animal rights wacko, but because of what he's done for my life. He's about 10 years old, and they discovered a few weeks ago that he has an extremely malignant, highly aggressive form of cancer that literally in 3 weeks has taken him out. And I don't know if you can see this part of his body, but you see like a big bulge here. Those are his ribs. And then this crevice back here is where he's lost 20 pounds in just a couple of weeks, because he's just not eating. He's got cancer all over his spleen and liver, I believe. He's not hungry. He's starving, but he's not hungry. I rescue animals. I've done it twice. Sox is my second rescue. But I don't rescue it the traditional way that most people do. Most people go to a shelter and get a dog and rescue them that way. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not for me. Because those types of shelters require you to sign a form that basically they can do whatever they want for the rest of your life. Come take the dog away for any reason. Come here, try and lay down. Try and lay down, sweetie. Come on. Can you lay down? Here we go. For the rest of your life, they basically control you, and they'll tell you, well, we'll never take him away unless we find you doing something wrong, but you also subject yourself to their policies, and if their policies change and the standards drop with the amount that it would take for them to retract the dog from you, then they could just for any reason decide that they want the dog and take him back from you. And I don't feel like investing that much and that long in a dog only to find out that they can take him from me. I don't mind the spot checks over the years and then coming by and making sure that you're still treating the animal good, but for any other reason than that, I wouldn't want my dog taken away. I told you all that to tell you how I rescue animals, so you know why I go to the extremes that I go to. The first dog that I rescued, I was at a friend's house out in Lakeland, and the dog was chained 2 feet from a post in the ground at 2 in the afternoon, which is the height of the heat in any place on planet Earth. It's actually not noon, it's 2 p.m. when the sun is at its highest spot. And then it's in Florida, which is even worse, in the middle of the summer, July or August, and there's a water bowl 2 feet from him that he can't get to. Wouldn't have mattered anyway, there was no water in it. And so I spent a little while at my friend's house. When I came out, the dog was still there like that. Now, before I'd walked in, I had unwound the dog. Oh, poor baby. Come here. I'm going to try and keep him on this side of the bed so I can do this video with him. Okay. I had unwound the dog, and by the time I came back, he'd already rewound himself. Come here, baby. Why don't you sit this way? Lay down here. There we go. You can lay down. Here, come in. Good boy. Lay down. So he was constantly winding himself up, and the owner didn't care. So when I got out of my friend's house, I just took the dog and brought him home. And I named him Rudy after the movie, because of the underdog. And kept him for about 6 months, found him a good home on a farm, and gave him away. Sox, it's a bit of you could probably see the labored breathing. He's struggling to breathe. He actually, when he starts getting restful, he quivers really violently when he tries to inhale, and so it's one of those things where you know it's time. Anyway, Oh, and he blew out his right leg too, so he can barely walk into the leg. And if you hear another dog whining in the background of his back, animals know when other dogs are in serious trouble, especially if it's their best buddy, and they've been best buddies, and that's the story I'm going to tell you for so long. 8 years now, best buddies. So Beck knows something's wrong, and he wants to be in here to be with him, and he can't, because he'll hurt him, unfortunately. Beck's just too tough and a little too aggressive, not as violently, but he's just too big, and Sox is too frail now. Anyway, Beck was about 6 or 7 months old, and I noticed that he constantly wanted to go in the backyard, and all dogs want to go in the yard, but not as much as this dog wanted to go in the yard all the time. And one day I figured out what it was, because I work out of the home. He was running the fence back and forth with Sox, who was my neighbor's dog, and they were both about 8 months old at the time. It was the cutest thing in the world. And so I started, when my neighbor wasn't around, letting Sox into my yard when they were gone during the day. I found out they were, I believe they were a teacher, so they were gone the majority of the day, and they were teaching night classes as well, so they were gone a good bit of the time. And I would let Sox into the yard so Beck and him could play. One of the reasons I did that was because they were abusing the dog. They were leaving him out in the sun, and thank God he wasn't tied to a post like the other dog, but he would run out of water by noon, and they would get home till 7 or 8 at night. And when they found out that I was bringing him over, they got upset with me. They started locking him in the house all day long. And then they'd come home at night, and I would hear them screaming and yelling at him because he pooped and pee everywhere. He'd been in there for 13 or 14 hours. He didn't know where to go. Dogs got, like us, they got to poop and pee every so many hours. So anyway, I asked for permission to bring him over to my house, and they let me. They said it was fine. So he would come over during the day and stay there for the majority of the day, and he'd go home at night. Well, this became a thing where then it was sometimes he'd stay really late, and sometimes it'd be like he'd stay overnight, and then he'd be there for a couple days, until it got to the point where he'd be in my house for like a week at a time, and then they'd come get him because they missed him and would thank me for taking care of him. And I was buying the food and everything. I told them, you don't have to buy anything, I'll take care of it. So it was a burden off their shoulders. And they knew that I was leaving soon, that particular property at one point, and so the abuse was continuing. I could hear them yelling, and when he would never want to go back home with them. They would come and get him, and he'd whine and walk around my legs and kind of pace in a circle around me, like, I want to stay here, I don't want to go with them. And that can happen once a dog gets attached to anyone, but that was, in my opinion, specifically because of the abuse. And he didn't want to be away from Beck. He liked spending nights with Beck, and they would lay on each other all night long. And so it was sad to watch him go home all the time. Well, when I loaded up a moving truck to leave, they wouldn't let him near my house. And so one particular day, I just went over there after they'd gone to work and just unlocked their gate and brought Sox to my side and brought him home with me. And I kept him in my house. I came and knocked on my door that night, and I knocked on their door. Went over to their place and said, look, here's the deal. This is how it's going to work. I'm leaving tomorrow, and you have one of two choices. You can give me the dog, and I'll go away, and we'll not worry about anything. And I made them sign a little contract, and I paid them $1 just to make it official. Or I can call the police, and we can try and get you arrested for, cruelty to animals and whatever else. And well, can we have that night to think about it? Have the dog back so we have at least one more night with him? I said, no, of course not. I know what you'll do. You'll hide him. You'll put him away, and I'll never see him again. And then he's going to be abused for the rest of his life. And so, those are your two options. If you want the dog back, I will give him to you, but it's going to have to go to the police, and then they can sort it out. And I'll press charges if they let me. I'll certainly testify against you, and we'll go that route. And so they agreed to let me have the dog. And like the Ron White stories, I told you all that story to tell you this story. You think you're rescuing a dog, but really they're rescuing you. When I moved into this little house I'm living in now, 8 years ago, a pool out back, and a huge backyard for them, and tiny front yard, but still a nice little place. I would spend my nights in the cool air with the windows and doors open, breeze blowing through, playing video games. I was a bachelor, I didn't have any kids yet, so I just played some games. And one particular night, I'm up the front room and I'm playing some games, and Sox comes running and just bursting into the house, and then runs out. Do you remember that? It's like, what was that? So I go back to playing games. I don't think anything of it. I think, okay, I got a psycho dog. He comes running back in a second time, like 15 seconds later. And he looks at me, I mean, like intense, like, and he runs out. Still, nothing's clicking in my head. I'm like, my God, I have a psycho dog. I go back to playing games. About 10 or 15 seconds later, he's back for a third time. And then I'm like, wait a second. Is this a Lassie moment, like Timmy stuck in a well? So this time he won't leave. And he's just barking. And I stand up, and then he runs outside. So this dog clearly wants me to follow him. By the time I get outside, Beck is just about to take his last breath because he had fallen into the pool and was just about to go under for the last time. If it hadn't been for him, Beck would have died that night. I wouldn't have even known. I probably would have found Beck 5 hours later after I got done playing video games. The irony of that is just that, I mean, there's so many ironies, but one of the big ones is Beck was terrified of the pool from day one. He wouldn't get near it. I don't even know how he fell in that night. So I figured he was safe around the pool. He won't get near it. He loved lakes, but not pools. He would jump in a lake in an instant, but pools, I mean, he was terrified. And I would bring him in slowly and try and teach him to swim, and he was horrified. So I just had no fear of the pool for him. So then I put a fence around the pool, right? A little lattice fence that I bought at Home Depot. I don't know, a year later, same thing happened again. When I go outside, Beck had been leaning over the fence, I guess thinking he was safe, because there was little tadpoles in the pool and fell right in. So I rescued him again, thanks to Sox. But by this time, I had changed my philosophy on Beck and was listening. So even though Sox had come running in, I'd heard the splash this time. I changed it so that I either had a camera outside with a microphone that I hooked to my computer so I could watch when he was outside and listen from that day forward, or the door was wide open and all the music was down, so if there was a splash, I would hear it. It happened 2 more times. He kept breaking through the lattice. It hasn't happened since, thank God. Sox rescued him all 3 times. Had I not stood up for Sox, my other dog would have died. Beck has seizures. Didn't discover that until I moved into this house. Now, obviously, he's a dog. He doesn't know what to do with seizures. I'm not saying Sox can cure those or anything. But as soon as Beck starts having a seizure, like even before I know what's going on, sometimes Beck will start having a seizure in bed with me, and I'll have no idea it's even happening yet because he's not quite starting to shake yet. Sox will stand up and start walking around him. Obviously, he can't do anything. He's a dog, but I'll know right away Beck's having a seizure. He has one every couple of months or so. He may have more than that when I'm gone. I don't know. Every time Sox tends to him. Every single time Sox knows what's going on, starts walking around him. And it's important because many times I'm not in this room, I'm in another room, and Sox will come get me. And it's weird because he does it differently. He knows the different levels of intensity. When Beck falls in the pool, Sox is intense, like you got to come now, row, 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 row. When it's the seizures, Sox knows it's important to get Daddy, but he's not about to die, but someone needs to know. So he'll come in the other room and he'll do this thing where he'll put his paws forward and lean up at me like this, so his elbows are towards the ground with his front paws, and he'll go, and then he'll run out of the room and run back and do it again. No training whatsoever. I didn't explain that to him at all. He just did it. Sox has never had any serious ailments until now. So I never knew if the shoe was on the other foot what Beck would do, if Beck would even know. A couple weeks ago, Beck started whining at me all the time around Sox. I had seen some of the weight loss, but just figured he was a little sick, because it wasn't that bad yet. Beck knew. I just didn't know what to do. It was too late even by then. This one's a killer almost 100% of the time. People don't know that aren't animal lovers. They don't know what it's like. They really become your children. They become, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not the same as Nathan, of course. But it is still your child. It's a different type of child, and it's an incredibly deep, really important relationship. And the reason why most people that don't have animals don't understand is because they think that all dogs are the same, with a slight difference in each dog. This dog's personality day to day, how he handles food, how he handles interaction, how he handles breathing, how he handles communicating things to me that he wants and doesn't want, is wildly different than Beck. And Beck's way of communicating that is wildly different than my other dog, Lady, that I used to have before I had to put her down. And her way of communicating everything about her life was wildly different than Sox or Beck. And Sam, who was my first dog, wildly different than all of them put together. From the way they carry themselves, to the way they communicate, the way they try to get your attention, the way they handle stress. I mean, people think that there's just these cookie cutter, like every dog is basically the same with some minor differences between the breeds, between particular dogs. Of course, animals don't have the same value as human beings. The Bible makes that clear. But they are just as complex when it comes to emotions and distinctiveness as human beings. Every single dog is different than every other dog in every way. There, of course, are plenty of similarities, just like there are in humans. And so because of these complexities, because of these differences, because of how phenomenally the architecture is phenomenal in their psyche and different from one dog to the next, the attachment is really deep. Because it's very specific. I don't have an attachment to this dog because he's a dog. I have an attachment to this dog because of who he is. And it's very different than any other dog on planet Earth. You see the labor breathing? Just doing everything you can to get air in. Part of you as an animal lover, but more specifically as an animal's parent or owner, depending on how you look at it. That you want to let them just go naturally. Because the only thing worse than knowing your dog is about to die is knowing that you're the one that has to actually kill him. It's hard in your own head not to look at it as killing them. In your heart, I guess, better, because your head knows what's really going on. Your head knows it's not killing him. Your head knows it's merciful, and it's time, and it stops their suffering. I mean, on top of everything else, he blew his knee out, probably because of the cancer eating away his bones. And what the doctor tells me is he's got that one good leg. And it's very possible as that cancer spreads, if you let him keep living, that other one's going to pop and it's going to be massively painful for him. You're left without a choice, but it still doesn't feel like you're doing anything merciful. It feels like after all the wonderful things they've done for you, that the way that you repay them is you just kill them. Part of the reason I'm making this video, as morbid as this is going to sound, is so I can see this later and remember, when I can get away from the emotion of it. And have some distance, some time from now. And not be so caught up in it, feeling like I'm killing him, and you know, because time helps heal if you do the right things. Get myself to a place where I can see it again, and I can go, now that I'm not quite as close to the situation, I know I did the right thing, because I can see how much pain he was in. I'm already there, but, and of course the other reason is to have one last video with my baby. God, there's almost no muscle left on his leg here, in just 3 weeks. One last thing. My first dog's name was Sam, or Sammy. He was your standard black and rust Doberman pinscher. I always have Doberman pinschers. This is sort of what I do. My plan initially was to always have only Doberman pinschers. I love Doberman pinschers. They are, I don't care what anybody's told you about Doberman pinscher. They're the best, most loyal dogs on the planet. And when I started rescuing, I realized I couldn't have 3. Which is why I had to give Rudy away. I just can't, I don't have room, I don't have money for 3. So I decided that I'm going to have a Doberman, and I'm going to have a rescue. And if the Doberman's a rescue, then I got 2 rescues. Sammy got cancer after 12 years. He was in perfect health. I swear to you, at 12 years old, people thought that dog was 2 and 3 years old. If it wasn't for the cancer, he probably would have lived another 5 years, maybe more. No gray hair, no nothing. 12 years old. Cancer ate away at his backside until he couldn't use either one of his back legs, and I still couldn't put him down. I just couldn't do it. I would lift him up by his backside, and he would walk on his front legs. I would take him outside and lower him down so he could poop. That went on for a couple of weeks until finally I knew it was time. He was done. And when we put him down, I don't want to talk about all the stuff that they do because it's just going to make me cry more, but it came that moment where they injected the stuff into him, and he was gone. His eyes closed for the last time, his breath was gone, everything, it was over. And I just sat there holding him, crying. And about a minute after he was gone, I mean it was a full minute, he opened his eyes, and he breathed, and he looked up at me, and he licked my face, like right in my eyes, looked right up at me, and licked my face, and then went back to sleep, and then he was gone. That was one of the most important moments in my life. Because it was like he went to the Rainbow Bridge and he came back to tell me, I like where I'm going and you're doing the right thing and thank you. Maybe it's a dog owner's stupidity just hoping for the goodness for their dog and that it's just ridiculous to say or think. But I believe it, because he was gone. And he came back and he licked my face. And even if it doesn't mean anything that I just said, I definitely believe he was coming back to say, I love you. You did a great job, and you're doing the right thing. Sometimes in life, the right thing is the hardest thing you will ever do.